Bob and Kel CleverCast for the week of September 28th, brought to you by the Pride of Naples, Florida, serving retirees since 1962, Maserati Grandpa. I know exactly what you folks are going through down there in Naples. Heavy, big time retirement community. You need something to take your mind off your latest ailment or illness, infirmity. Nothing like access to a sleek motor beast like the 2024. Yes, the 2024s are in. Maserati Ghibli Trofeo, Levante, Quattroporte, and a new one whose name I can't even pronounce. So we'll see you there. And then, because your browsing in the showroom is going to give you a hankering for Italian food, right next door to Maserati Grandpa is an Italian restaurant called Olivedati, owned by the former Viking scapegoat of the 1998 playoffs, Tom Olivedati. Remember, he was the one who was fired, not Denny Green, for the knee that was taken and the field goal that was kicked. Tom Olivedati feels, as do I, that revenge, the kind he deserves, is a dish best served cold. Whether it's cold you're looking for, warm, lukewarm, hot, spicy hot, you can find it at Olivedati. Pesta, pasta, pizza, anything starting with the letter P except for poop is available at Olivedati next to Maserati Grandpa in Naples, Florida. How are you, gentlemen? What's been happening?
Very good. You mentioned lukewarm. I think you worked with Luke back in the 70s. Luke was a great actor.
Luke, he warmed up considerably after that, and then caught a case of the incurable creeping crud. Oh, this reminds me, speaking of social issues, I don't know whether you folks recall a couple of three podcasts ago, Kel mentioned a kind of unofficial, kind of casual goal that it might happen, a kind of dual citizenship. And I like that concept. I've been giving it some thought. And last Friday morning, after the most recent podcast, I called him and I said, I don't know what your spontaneous schedule availability is like, how flexible you are, but how would you feel if I handled the air and the hotel if you met me in Las Vegas? Because I have an agenda, I'll break it to you then. He said, are you kidding? You'll pay for everything. So he met me at the airport in Las Vegas, and we were driven to the Tam O'Shanter Wedding Chapel just north of the former Sahara hotel property between the Sahara, where it used to be, and downtown Las Vegas. Tam O'Shanter Wedding Chapel is a Irish-themed establishment. We did not have a reservation, but an Irishman posing as Elvis, an Elvis impersonator who was Irish, spoke with an Irish brogue. I won't try to simulate it because it sounded pretty stupid as it was. Married us secretly and legally. And Kel was asked if he would take this man to be his lawfully wedded wife, to which he said, hey, if he's paying for it, I'm in.
Rome.
And then, of course, the time of the decision arrived, and he said, you can kiss the bride. And Kel said, no, not going to happen. So the bottom line is this. When you talk about dual citizenship, consider this. In California, my Social Security card and my driver's license say Bobby King Yates Jr., because that's what I was born. That's how I was born. That was my name, given to me at birth by two Texans. But in the state of Nevada, I'm now known legally as Mrs. Kelly Lee Gratke. That is just awesome. It's like I'm leading two lives. I led two lives. I think that was back in the 50s, that was a very popular series. We could bring it back now. That could be one of the installments.
I just love the fact that you were willing to take on the female role in it. I mean, I think I could have gone either way, but I thought, let you wear the dress for a while.
Here's the deal. I had a feeling that the wedding night would be totally platonic, because at my age, it takes me about an hour to get fluffed for any kind of intercourse. At 72, I require, at the very least, a pill and a 12-minute video and an injection of some sort, a shot, a pump that you place over the member and use some sort of hydraulic thing. And this took about an hour, and Kel fell asleep. So we had to spend the rest of the weekend betting on sports. And unless I'm mistaken, you have an anecdote you'd like to tell about the bartender at Palace Station Sportsbook you met, who startled a number of people within, let's say, a 24 square foot radius with a with a certain statement. He had lived in Minnesota before. I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, we journeyed up to the bar with our free drink passes, drink tickets. Said, I'd like an IPA. I'd like a nice trendy beer. Oh, no, gentlemen, you will get a Coors Light and you will like it. So we took our Coors Light and he's made some small talk and he said, where are you guys from? I said, well, I'm from Minnesota. He said, Minnesota, I have some friends out there. St. Jewish Park, am I right? Okay.
You could have knocked us over with a feather. My jaw dropped about 3 feet. To know that that slur has made its way around the world, or at the very least to Las Vegas from the Twin Cities, just blows my mind. He said it just like the typical Trumper. They don't give a damn. They don't have any filter. Oh, really? Say it like St. Jewish Park.
Multiple reasons. Like, okay, what if we're Jewish? And what if we're not, but we have good taste? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Maybe you just read the room.
It's one of those situations where even a week after it happened, you wish you'd handled it better. I wish I had placed a napkin over my half consumed Coors Light and said something like Baruch atah Adonai, to give the impression that I am into the Judaism thing and that he has said the wrong thing. Also, another reason for me to move hotels from now on for sports gambling purposes is that, Kel, I think you'll confirm this, that several of the people in the seating area in front of the screens watching the games appeared to be dying of some sort of tubercular abnormality. I mean, they were wheezing and coughing and then drinking and smoking. It was just, it was like suicides on parade. And it just wasn't a classy crowd. I think anyone who had been there would get the impression that the casting of lots exploits ethnic minorities, because we were two of very few Caucasians present on this day, if you'll recall. Not that there's anything wrong with that, as Jerry Seinfeld would say, but I have been and intend to revisit in about a month the sports book in Washington, D.C. that's attached to the arena where the Washington Wizards play. And when I walked in last year, I was instantly the only pale face in the entire room. And I don't know, I just felt uneasy. I felt like I was lucky to get out of there with my life. And yet I'll be taking some money to avail myself of their services once again this year. So what would you give the trip, given the motivation for it on my part? Would you, what kind of letter grade would you give your visit with me to Las Vegas for the purposes of marrying me?
Yeah, well, that's, I feel used a bit in that way, but again, if I can help a brother out, I'm happy to do so. We saw some wild things and some wild people. We didn't win all our bets, but it was a fun time all around. I felt like it was an elongated radio show, so I enjoyed it.
And we got to research a new sponsor to the podcast, and that is Friar Tuck's, Tux, on Sahara Boulevard. You recall Friar Tuck's?
Yes, but don't mispronounce it.
Don't transpose the letters and make it tire frux. You're exactly right. Yeah, there were some interesting human studies and just some general ambient detail, the atmospherics and whatnot, and
the African-American gentleman who was screaming at the television screen pretty much.
Oh yeah.
The moment he sat down until the moment he stood up and yell, and it was just constant.
And you had not been aware of the traditional Las Vegas truism that the person who yells the loudest at a sports book has the least amount of money on the game. And he did some stomping and stalking and shouting and just generally acting as if he were unhinged.
It was odd. Give him a gun. That
Yeah.
would have made it a little more nerve-wracking.
Don't you think the food was good though? We had good
Oh,
meals.
not a bad meal in the place. Four
Yeah.
winners all across the board.
Right. We had some what's that, Panda Express, and we had
Mhm.
a nice meal in the coffee shop
Yeah, I took
and
in a lobster roll. Ooh, tasty.
snacks here and there.
Mm-hmm.
No, they it's very lowest common denominator type stay in Las Vegas off the strip, which is why I think that uh, uh, for another reason, the flack that I was getting from the pit boss at the sports book about the size of my bets, um, that I'll be moving to moving my loyalty to a place where they don't ask any questions. I don't want to be a part of a business's database. I just want to put the money down, take the ticket away, and if I win, I come back and I cash it. And if not, they get the money and I get the souvenir, the memento. The one bet that they really gave me trouble about, they won. There was no need to give me trouble about that because of the size of it. I realized that given their other clientele, this was probably, you know, line moving, earth shaking in its
Right.
magnitude, but really
It was
wasn't.
it was odd, just like a lot of the other interactions with staff
Yeah,
at the
authority
casino.
figures.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came across that guy the following morning just to buy a couple of Christmas gifts.
Mm-hmm.
One, a Texas future for a Longhorn grad brother-in-law of mine, and then for my son-in-law, the Baltimore Orioles to win the World Series at 7-1. I was just going to send him in cards, little mementos, little gifts, keepsakes, what have you, which they can cash in by mail if the objective expressed on the ticket comes true.
Right.
And he was giving me flack about that. So I just said, you know what? I'm not gonna. They've served me well for the past few years. They've stayed out of my business, but this is
Yeah.
just
Might be time to
it.
move on. Yeah, I
Yeah,
tried to
time to
make
move.
that bet. Remember, I tried to bet on the Twins that would actually win a playoff, but they couldn't find that bet
Yeah,
anyplace in the
I
prop.
I definitely think there's a difference now between the propositions available on the big board in a sports book and the stuff that's available to people with phone accounts. If Minnesota had sports gambling and the phone accounts were legal, you could find, for instance, a team total for a game, just the one team. You could find a proposition on the Twins to finish with the number 2 seed in the
Right.
American League for the playoffs. There's all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of exotic stuff that's available by phone that's not available to the general public, unfortunately. So, get to the polls. Vote for some damn sports gambling.
And do.
Let's see. Oh, I had some fun facts just from reading around. I'm still reading around. Remember the theme
Yeah,
of
read around.
the last podcast? Um, I learned from the New Yorker of all places, um, two fun facts about Don Cornelius from Soul Train. You're not going to believe this, but apparently he slept with several of the Soul Train dancers.
Oh,
And guess how he compensated all of the Soul Train dancers? You're going to say, oh, is it personal check? Was it a money order? Was it cash? How did he compensate the Soul Train dancers? How do you think?
wow. Coupons.
He paid them in Kentucky Fried Chicken.
I was gonna guess food. Yeah, see, I was close.
Mm-hmm. And if you did a really good job as a Soul Train dancer, maybe you got some sides, like some mashed potatoes or a chicken pot pie or something.
Don wasn't their types any, was he?
Also found out from reading around that Larry McMurtry, whose biography I showed you last week as a part of my cache of library books,
Yes.
Larry McMurtry, apparently, this is like in the last 10 or 15 years of his life, married the widow of Ken Kesey.
Huh. So
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest,
yeah,
Sometimes a
yeah.
Great Notion, Ken
I'm
Kesey.
I'm trying to think who if he had a famous wife or not.
Merry Pranksters. No, he didn't have a famous wife. The fact that she had been married to Ken Kesey,
Right.
but after Ken Kesey died, she married Larry McMurtry. I was just I was
She
just blown
was
away by that fun
she was
fact.
she was reading around.
Yeah. Um, I don't know how you come down on this issue, but the Senate dress code in Washington, D.C. has been much in the news lately.
Yeah, back and forth.
Um, I'm sorry?
Back and forth. They're
Yeah.
one day it's one, next day it's the other.
And how do you feel? Should there be like a casual Friday, or should anyone be able to show up any day of the week on the floor of the U.S. Senate in a hoodie and shorts?
I feel like a hoodie and shorts is a bit much. I feel like maybe a nice polo and some slacks, but I don't know. Suit and tie might be a little bit. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I could live
I
with a suit
um
and tie.
I admire John Fetterman. I agree with many of his viewpoints. I support his recovery from his stroke. I hope he gets better and better,
Mhm.
back into, vim and vigor and fighting trim and all of that. But here's a cruel fact, not little known about John Fetterman. He's a slob. John Fetterman is a slob. And I can tell that he feels uncomfortable in a jacket and tie. That's tough shit. You're in the U.S. Senate now, which is a little like church in that I was told when I was a child, dress for church like you might accidentally bump into Jesus. And I think that should be the rule for the U.S. Senate as well. Give us a jacket, give us a tie. As soon as the day's work, if you want to call it that, is over, you can take off the jacket and tie and look like Bill Belichick for the rest of the day, as far as I'm concerned. So that's my position on the Senate dress code.
The only thing I think about that is some of those days are very long, right? I mean, if you get a filibuster up there, you could be hours, hours, a full day even. And if you
That's
want to
true.
relax, loosen the tie, I don't know, but
Yep.
it's if there's, I don't know. Again,
Well,
comfort,
also,
a little price to
how does
pay.
how does this translate to women? What will women be allowed to wear? My God, I can't imagine what Lauren Boebert would wear if she were allowed to. What would she wear? Like a bikini top with cutoffs? I
Daisy
mean,
Dukes.
you can't trust some of these people, some of these elected officials. Obviously, she's not in the Senate; she's in the House. But the fact remains, if you give them the least little bit of freedom, they're going to take advantage of it. And before you know it, you got hee haw, you got overalls,
Right.
and that's not good.
What about your favorite, Dianne Feinstein? Would she let the pearls go? Would she just doff the no pearls?
This reminds me. I want to alert you to the next cover, the next issue of the New Yorker magazine. It's the race for the presidency, and all of them are like septuagenarians, and Biden, and they're it's not so much a race because they're all on walkers, and it's pretty funny. When you see it, you'll believe me, you'll have a laugh over it. Now about Biden's dog.
No,
How many dogs
Biden
do you
does.
know who've bitten 11 people?
Not too many make it to that number before they're taken out.
And that's the point I'm getting to. I don't want to offend the sensibilities of those who suffer from dog worship. I've had dogs in my life, dogs and cats,
Hmm.
but they are beasts of the field, and the Bible tells me I have dominion over them. Bite me 11 times or bite 11 of my friends, and you're going to be served as an hors d'oeuvre at the next family Thanksgiving. That's my what else would you do with them? Who do you give them to? Or maybe you give it away to somebody and say, okay, you're going to need to do the muzzle thing with this dog because he bites people. 11 chances not to bite somebody and he bites them anyway?
I don't
I
get
think
it.
that's not kosher.
Do we know what is the name of this dog? Cujo?
I think it's Commander.
Oh, well, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Commander. Good Lord.
Yeah. Well, it's the executive branch. You had to figure it would have something to do with the military. 11 times.
I don't
I'll
know. Have
never
you ever
forget the
have you ever
time
been
that
bit?
the former wife and I arrived at the residence of Ruth Kozlak and her husband Brian back in the day. Have I already told you this anecdote?
Probably I
They had a
forget.
they had a couple of pugs or a couple of little bulldogs or something like this,
Hmm.
and their claws were like razors. And it was summer, and I was in shorts. And these two dogs ran up to me as we entered. One took one leg, one took the other, and they raked ribbons of blood down both legs. And Ruth and her husband just thought it was the funniest thing
Oh,
that they would go, "Oh, they really like you. Yeah, I can tell. I have like third degree wounds here that are going to require doctor's care. I may have to go to the emergency room. They like me so much."
hmm.
Put the animals in another room. When grown-ups come in, grown-ups rule. Do you have an animal? Do you have a domestic pet?
Yep. It's a little dog, a little, what is it? A Peekapoo Pomeranian, something like that.
Does it interfere with anything when company comes over?
Barks like hell, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So
Does it
we want to
eventually
muzzle it.
does it eventually stop barking?
Yeah, it's usually just first time meeting someone for the first time. They're very excited. Hey, 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 look who's here. But after that,
Yeah. Do you think a dog would try to continue to bark if it were muzzled? It would go. "Mm, mm, 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 mm."
yeah, kind of sad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kurt, do
Hey,
you
I
have a
thought that.
dog on the premises? I know you have a cat.
No, I have a couple cats, and
Coup-
yeah, my brother has a problem dog, and when I go to his place, I have to. He tells us we have to put our hands up here and wait for the dog to circle us and smell us and everything to settle down.
Boy, I shouldn't comment on events within families that I don't have any visibility into, but what you've just described to me sounds a lot like bullshit. I mean, really, a human being should not be inconvenienced in the least by visiting another human being. If their animal is going to get into the mix, I'm sorry. I actually had to tell my sister at one point a few years ago, I can't come back if I have to fight one of your dogs for access to a cushion on your couch. I just my principles won't allow that. I have dominion over this creature, and so unless you change the rules, I can't come back. So they have to. What does this mean? Does the dog recognize that as some sort of semaphore or something?
Well, it's just to make your hands not seem like a weapon, or he wants. You have to be appeared not threatening to the dog. So
You must
Mm-hmm.
bow to the
yeah,
dog.
and eventually, yeah, after the smelling is over, he's fine. But until then, he's a head case. The dog is a head.
Oh, well, remember the curb episode where Larry was getting nuzzled in the crotch by the dog, and Susie kept saying that he was enjoying it too much.
What happened there?
I don't know. He gets
You don't
always
remember how
gets
that shook out?
yeah.
Do your dogs bark at black people?
Well, the dog is black, so I feel like they have an affinity for black people.
Oh, okay. A
Yeah,
little commonality there. Say,
yeah,
bro, how's it going?
yeah. It's the white dogs you got to watch out for.
And of course, you walk your dog past all the black family residences there in
Yeah,
Matamidi.
all over Matamida.
Yeah, of course. Cats are a whole different animal, no pun intended.
Hmm.
I actually like the way they are detached, independent. They'll
Right.
just sit across the room and just look at you and approach you very gingerly, very warily, They're never interfering with anything. So,
I love you can just leave them. You could leave the house for days. You come back, the cat's just fine. A dog would have committed suicide by that point. They can't handle it.
oh, something just crossed my mind that I forgot to mention regarding our wedding night last weekend in Las Vegas. Since 1976, I've been unable to convince anyone in Las Vegas on my many trips there to kiss me.
Hmm.
I called my sister about this. She had been to Las Vegas before, and she claims this is because of the typical traditional prostitutes aversion to oral herpes. Now, my next question is, do I look like somebody who's carrying oral herpes? Here's what it's come to. If you want someone in Las Vegas to kiss you, you're going to have to bring them in from out of state. You're going to have to practically violate the Mann Act, as I did with my, I think it was 1982, with my second wife. That's where we honeymooned. And then since then, subsequently, girlfriends outside of the expired marriage, of course, to Las Vegas. Otherwise, I don't understand the aversion to foreplay. As I said, I need to be fluffed. I need romance. I need to be prepared so that I can perform.
And I wasn't about to do that this weekend.
No, and I don't blame you at all. You were thrust, no pun intended, into that role that you did not
It was
welcome.
literally a man act.
Yeah. So I'll never forget the one who approached me fall of 76 at Caesars. And so we go back to the room, and of course I'm grandstand green. I'm just, some bumpkin from Texas. And I'm thinking, why can't I get my tongue past this woman's teeth? She wouldn't kiss me. And my sister explains it as an aversion to oral herpes. What happens with oral herpes? Are you just do your lips fall off? What goes on there? Do you become like part of a lower caste like in India? Do you have to wear a button that says, "Stand back, I have oral herpes"? What goes on there?
I
I
haven't
didn't even
done no
realize there was
research.
such a thing. I thought herpes was always down here.
Yeah, south of the border. I can't imagine on the mouth. No.
All right.
I guess that's a real thing.
Also, apropos of Las Vegas and the sports gambling lifestyle, we have access to Phil Mickelson's next three-team teaser for the weekend. That's about as secret as it gets. As secret as my marriage to Kel this past weekend. And those three teams are Georgia, Texas, and the Washington Huskies. Just take 6 points off each of the teams' spread, what they're giving. For instance, Georgia, I think, is giving right now 14.5. So come game time, if that's still the number, what the 8.5. That's a teaser, a 3-point teaser in Las Vegas pays 3-2. So that's what Phil Mickelson has planned. This business about, I'm not going to bet football this year because I have to stay with my family. I'm turning over a new leaf, and it's made me sound a little like Elmer Fudd. Sorry about that. Have fun at the gambling window this weekend. Please place my teaser for me. So that's what he's looking for: Georgia, Texas, and the Washington Huskies.
I'm
All
still
right.
I'm still grumpy about that Cowboys loss, Bob. I still that would have made my weekend.
As Frank Sinatra sang, that's life. That's what the people say. Flying to Vegas in September, shot down in May. Oh, I forgot one of our sponsors, Gradke Latke, the official potato pancake of the Minnesota Vikings. All right.
Bad.
Oh, another compliment I wanted to give your wife regarding her bilingual lifestyle, being able to speak fluently in Spanish and English. I came across a song the other day that is the reason why I always had trouble trying to learn Spanish. I mean, I could learn the Spanish word for eye or ear or nose, hair, what have you, head, but it's the verbs, the little quirky verb things, passive and active verbs, that kind of thing, that always gave me trouble. And here's a good example of it. Even with English, it was a Bobby Darin song called "If I Were a Carpenter." I always thought that was bad grammar. I thought it should be, "Had I been a carpenter, had you been a lady, if I was a carpenter, if you were a lady." Do you remember that song?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Great song, but no. If somebody asks you what line of work did you used to be in, you wouldn't say "I were a carpenter." You would say "I was a carpenter."
Right.
but somehow you put the if in front of it and you got to change the was to were. And I can't do that in English, let alone in another language. So that is why I totally failed in my attempts to be bilingual. Plus, the year that I had Spanish night class in college, I think I've told you this, ABC began Monday Night Football. And that's just,
That was
I'm
it.
not going to class. I'm going to watch Jets and Browns, which I think was the first pairing in the history of the series. Oh, I've got my Chico Marx story for you. I've been tantrically delaying that. You familiar with Chico Marx, the incorrigible womanizer and
It's
member of
terrible.
the
I
Marx
always
Brothers?
used to think that was Chico Marx, but it's Chico Marx.
Yeah, that's how it's pronounced. These were Jewish guys. You can't expect them to portray Italians very realistically. Um, and they probably had some sort of connections to St. Jewish Park. Never know. So the Marx Brothers were gathered by their manager the night before a big party in Hollywood, and they were told that um, an actress by the name of Tallulah Bankhead, who was kind of an earthy, salty broad, she was going to be present, and please don't say anything untoward to her that she might think of as an insult. And so even Chico agreed, yes, I'll keep a low profile. So the party happens, and Chico walks in and goes right up to her. The way this was told to me by Dick Cavett on his show. It reminded me of when my children and I went to what's your museum there on campus, the Wiseman Museum. Before we entered the museum, I said, "Don't touch the paintings." Well, as soon as we got in the door, the kids go straight to the paintings and put their hands on them. That's what this reminds me of. Chico
Yes.
Marx attending the party where Tallulah Bankhead is already present and probably having already drank her fill. And so Chico knows he's not supposed to say anything untoward. Same thing with Harpo, same thing with Groucho, Zeppo, Gummo, however many Marx Brothers were in attendance. And Chico goes right up to Tallulah Bankhead and says, "I want to fuck you." And Tallulah Bankhead said, "And so you shall, dear boy, so you shall." Dick Cavett told that story. I forget in what setting. It couldn't have been, a PG-rated network show setting, but he told it in some documentary or something.
Yeah,
Chico
I don't.
Marx was a piece of work, boy.
Yeah, I saw the play. One woman play Kathleen Turner played Tallulah. I think it was called Tallulah. It ran
Yeah,
through Minneapolis back in the day, and I don't remember that scene.
she had that growl. I don't know that
Yeah,
you've ever seen the Tallulah Bankhead movies, but she's got the growl. She's just a very, a salty character, and rubbed elbows with all the guys, talked about guy stuff, and was kind of hopped up,
sure.
kind of ribald,
Ribbled.
and what we would call today thirsty or horny. Tallulah Bankhead. No, I'm not kidding you. Let's see, what else have I here? I have library books. You want to see those?
Well, are they so they're new ones for after the ones you got? Oh, I'm
These are
so
these are the ones that I did not have a chance to show you the last time we met. I would
mm,
have to leave my seat for just a moment. Pardon me.
okay.
You
Well, we
can
hate to
sit
see him
on
go, but
them.
we love to watch him walk away. And we can see the rail in his house, and there's a nice picture in the
Here we go.
background.
All right, then.
We can edit this out.
And the partner just picked up two books at the Palisades Library. I think it was the first novel by William Faulkner called The Wild Palms, and then a book about one of my favorite modern Southern writers named Barry Hannah. This struck me as strange. Usually, a memoir is written by the person whose life you'll be reading about inside the book. But this is someone else writing a book called A Memoir of Susan Sontag. So I guess this is the story of this person's relationship with Susan Sontag. So I'll be
Simply.
eager to see how she handles that. This, a book by Alice Carriere called, and this is a memoir about her life called Everything, Nothing, Someone. This woman is the daughter of the accomplished modern artist, the late Jennifer Bartlett. This is one of several daughter memoirs that's come out this year. One was Richard Gilman's daughter. He was with Time magazine. The other was Peter Sheldall, the art critic for New Yorker magazine. His daughter, who's written a book about how poorly she was raised. So that is definitely a trend, definitely a school of literature this year. The daughter memoir. This, what I'm about to show you, is going to be a hell of a movie. I mean, it just screams Hollywood formula. The pitch, easy to put a pitch together, 25 words or less, of this story of four elderly hit women. They were hit persons for some sort of, I don't know, underworld establishment, right? And they are on a cruise to celebrate their retirement. But their employer doesn't trust them to keep the secrets that they compiled during their years as hit persons. So he sends his own people to take care of them on this cruise. And the book is entitled Killers of a Certain Age. It's a
Oh,
comic novel, and I can just, tell you right now, Helen Mirren will probably be in this,
oh.
and Annette Bening, and I don't know who else is old.
I hate to
Um,
say it, but I think this has already been done. Wasn't 80 for Brady that same topic?
they were former hit people. Jane Fonda was an assassin, was a
So was
sniper.
Sally Field. No, I'm just janking your chain.
Oh, okay. But see, it wouldn't surprise me. By the way, how did you greet the news of the end to the writer's strike?
Oh, I had a nice glass of wine and raised a toast to them and their good fortune. Now, hopefully,
I was
the actors will follow suit.
I was pleasantly surprised to find out that once again I was wrong. I predicted
It
that
would
the
be over.
producers would not care about human beings and their families, that they would press on with their AI, and
Don
uh,
Iger saved the day.
I'm sorry,
Don Iger isn't the head of Disney. Don Iger, right?
Robert Iger.
Oh, Robert Iger. Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
did
he
he turn
stepped in.
against? Did he turn against the studios or something?
Well, he definitely was trying to grease the rails a bit, and he jumped in and mediated some things, and look what happened. Week later,
Hmm.
I don't know.
Well, good. I'm glad that they've got all their differences resolved, and now you have one more ingredient, one last ingredient. It's not going to do any good to write for anybody if you have no actors to use the word. So they got to clear up the actors thing. Directors have signed, writers have signed, and now you got to get the actors together.
Bob, what were the radio? Do you remember being in a radio union back in the day? Wasn't it after SAG-AFTRA?
When I worked for WLI in 1983, it was AFTRA, only
Yeah,
AFTRA,
okay, but
and
they're not a part of this anymore. With the radio isn't this in it with the TV anymore, right? It's just
I
they're
don't
set.
know why they merged. I
Hmm,
assume it's like any businesses that merge, they merge to save each other. So
okay.
I don't know, but that SAG-AFTRA is the last, shoe to drop. Hopefully, they will be able to talk some sense into the producers and studios, and get things back on a production schedule of some sort. In the meantime, there are some fun movies on the horizon. Uh, I think we have plans to see. Have you heard of a movie called Dumb Money about the GameStop
Yeah,
controversy of a couple of years ago?
yeah, I
Yeah,
saw it actually in the movie theater at the place we stayed in Vegas had that coming up in a couple weeks.
yeah. Um, to continue, if I may, with the library books, maybe you've already checked this out or bought it, but a formerly imprisoned sports gambler named Billy Walters has written a bestseller entitled Gambler: Secrets from a Life at Risk. This book contains priceless anecdotes from his relationship with Phil Mickelson.
Oh,
The time that Phil Mickelson asked him to place a $400,000 bet on Ryder Cup, and the estimate of the tens of millions of dollars that Phil Mickelson has lost at sports gambling. That should tell you right there that if you can't approach sports gambling in a controlled way, if you can't come up with an exit strategy each day or each week of a particular sports season, you're asking for trouble. That's why I say that the in-game play, the commercials that make it sound like, you know, I don't know if you do you guys have commercials for your reservation casinos, TV
Yeah.
commercials, where it makes
Okay.
it look like no one has ever lost any money
Oh, and
in
the,
these
and the
buildings. Oh, yippee! I just won at roulette. Oh, I
and
just
the
won at blackjack.
people, they're beautiful, beautiful women and men,
Yeah.
and just like
Oh,
you
yeah.
go to a casino and they're not.
Yeah. You know, there's a subject here, a very controversial subject in California about reparations for Black people. And I almost got myself banned by another newspaper's comment section when I wrote in and it said, would they accept casinos? Because the Native Americans seem to do pretty well with casinos. I've heard all kinds of stories about, um, I think it was Burnsville. I think it was a Dodge dealership in Burnsville. I knew a guy who worked there back in my radio days, and he said they would bring bricks of cash, bricks of, like taken from a table in Breaking Bad, that
Oh,
kind
wow.
of brick of cash, and
Yeah.
bring it into the showroom and buy a Dodge Stealth with cash. So they've done okay, some of those reservation families. So I was just, wondering in this comment section whether Black people would want their own casinos. You know, I don't this is about Arnold Schoenberg, the Ornette Coleman of classical music, why he matters. Harvey Sachs, who wrote a book about Toscanini, has written a book about Schoenberg, who lived here in L.A. and played tennis with Groucho and Thomas Mann and Stravinsky, and they had this little artist colony where they got together for poker night and played hard court tennis, and they just generally enjoyed the LA lifestyle. I really like that part of it. Here is a biography of Peter Beard. You may remember him as the former husband or boyfriend of Cheryl Tiegs back in the day. He usually ran around shirtless. He was a photographer and spent a lot of time in Africa taking pictures of elephants and stuff. And quite the ladies' man, and met a really strange end. He contracted some sort of dementia and just wandered off into the wild and wasn't found for weeks. And I'm sure when he was found, he wasn't in great shape. So Peter Beard, 20th century man, the wild life of Peter Beard. So check that out at
Wow.
your local
That's a
library.
lot of reading around you're going to have to do.
I'm sorry?
A lot of reading around you're going to have to do. There's a lot
Oh,
of,
I'm telling you.
I don't know.
I love the nonfiction though because I like the pictures. I
Oh,
like to see the pictures of like from
well,
childhood till they're carried
you
out
know,
of the church
a picture is worth 1,000 words.
at their funeral. Yeah, who said that?
That was me. I'm Cal.
I'm guessing. Well, no, I can't believe my husband would waste his time with something like that. I have to believe that my Nevada husband. I'm sorry.
I
Um,
mean, we
that
bicker just like an old couple.
oh, sure, the Bickersons. That's what they call us. That was Don Amici. I forget who the lady was, but the comedy team was the Bickersons. They were a married couple who did nothing but argue in a comical way. They have all kinds of, I guess, comedy albums still out there. I don't know whether they've, been transitioned to CD or what the deal was, but there was an historic comedy act, the Bickersons. This is a book by the latest Sally Rooney, Irish female writer named Megan Nolan. She is also from Dublin, and she has written a book about a woman obsessed with a man, and it's called Acts of Desperation. And I read the first few pages, and I was spellbound because it never occurred to me that a woman might be fixated on a man the way men can be obsessed with certain women. But apparently, it's happened, if only in fiction. So that's what's crossing my desk, in addition to the ones you saw last week, library book wise.
Wow.
Get out there and enjoy your literacy, especially if you're watching this from other states where they ban books. You want to, get these and hide them somewhere so that the your right wing people in charge can't ban them.
Did you ever get around to reading that American Kingpin book about the dark web, Silk Road. You'd recommended it.
Oh, I read around in that too. Pretty spooky, huh? Pretty
I haven't.
creepy.
I'm looking for it. I'm trying to find it someplace, but I
Yeah.
have not got it yet.
Well, whenever I'm in that situation, I just go right to Amazon. I
Oh,
do the title and Amazon and see, how soon it can get here, what it costs, that kind of thing. Or I go to my local library's database and see where I would have to drive to pick it up. And this is the
okay.
one about what is it? The drug ring or something? What was it about?
It's about the dark web, the creator of the dark web, right?
But yeah, but there was merchandise changing hands, right?
Oh, I don't. I have not read it yet. I'm excited to try it someday, so
Okay.
I'm looking
I
for it.
forget the title.
Hmm.
I finished Breaking Bad, by the way. It was
Okay.
an excellent final episode, given that it was the end of the two blended series along with Better Call Saul.
Hmm.
And in the overhead shot that reminded me of the post-bloodbath overhead shot in Taxi Driver, Bryan Cranston looked almost at peace. He looked almost as if, he was he'd already gone to heaven and he was at peace with one last look at a cooking center. Didn't
Yeah.
didn't you think?
Yeah, very much so. It's been
Yeah.
years since I've seen it, but I do remember that it was great. I mean, did you the neo-Nazis at the end, you were okay with all that, how it played out, or you think that was too much?
It's a little heavy-handed, but you got to have villains.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
really gets me is Jesse Plemons has changed so much physically between that episode and then this knockoff or spin-off called El Camino. I
Hmm.
don't know how we can accept the way he looks now compared to the way he looked then. It's I think it's kind of obvious that the man has gained some weight.
Hmm.
Married life will do that. He's married to Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah. Do you watch Only Murders in the Building?
Mm-hmm.
What do you so the most recent season have you been watching?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think? I feel, and I love Selena Gomez, I really do, but it seems like every episode she looks a little different. And I know like
Yeah.
a little puffy.
She is puffy. She's pasty and puffy and doughy, and you'll notice that they garb her in two or three layers for every scene. She does not show a lot of skin or body in any of the scenes. She has some sort of problematic
Right.
hormonal thing going. I don't know what it is, but
I
she's
heard
definitely sensitive about it.
I heard she has lupus and it's the medication she takes for lupus makes her appear puffy.
Well, Lupus is in Peter Lupus of Mission Impossible.
If that
Oh,
helps you.
there's a you're right. There's a condition or a disease with it. And do we know this for a fact that that's the case?
I Googled Selena Gomez puffy, and
Yeah.
that's what came up. Somebody
I think
making
there's
that
a
comment.
What surprises me about her is she talks through her nose.
Yeah,
And
I
I
know
don't
it's odd.
understand how that translates to being a good singer. She's had some hit records, and I just don't know how that speaking voice through the nose translates to singing.
Right. And the other thing with her puffiness, I'm just like it's to me it's startling because it's like first episode she's not puffy, she's beautiful, gorgeous, and the next episode she is puffy, and it kind of goes back and forth. But I guess that's how you don't always shoot TV shows, movies in the right order. So that's why I'm saying some
Right.
days are better than others.
Have
Anyway,
you seen her cooking show? She has a cooking show on
no,
HBO Max, I think.
I haven't. I haven't.
I had to stop watching it because the young woman, I dare any of you to watch first few episodes of her cooking series where she brings on relatives or special guests or something like that to help her with these recipes. In virtually every episode, she has damn near sliced a finger off.
Oh
She is
no.
a total klutz with these super sharp knives, and I couldn't watch it anymore. It just, I've got a knife taboo anyway. It kind of gives me the willies, and so I couldn't watch any more of her cooking show. Meanwhile, CNN is just beating the crap out of this Jose Andres thing they glommed onto from HBO Max. Jose Andres and his daughters eating their way through Spain.
Right.
Have you seen the
I
promos for
haven't
that?
seen it. I know it's Jose Andres, but I have not seen the show.
Yeah, I would recommend the show. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It'll make you want to go to Spain. I've never been to Spain. I think I asked you this last podcast. Have
You
you ever
said,
been to
Kel, have you
Spain?
ever
Three
been to
Dog Night.
Spain?
Right. Three Dog Night. And then I segued from that into
Hmm.
my Chuck Negron fun fact about his
Are we
How
just
about his heroin
are we playing old
addiction?
bits now? Is that what we're doing?
Did you know that Graham Parsons uh, tried to kick heroin in the same room with another musician who was trying to kick heroin? They were trying to do it together. That musician's name was Keith Richards. And now you know the rest of the story. Yeah, Keith Richards and Graham Parsons in the same room trying to kick heroin. Isn't that nuts?
Watch out, or I'll bust out my Keith Richards picture and show you again.
Oh, the one that I thought was Biden.
I thought it was Mitch McConnell.
No, he didn't look frozen. By the way, Mitch, now that you bring it up, has not frozen in several weeks. I think it's a good sign.
Well, did he take advantage of the short-lived dress down?
You know what?
casual dress?
I'm trying to picture Mitch in a hoodie and shorts, and I'm having difficulty with that. That would make me freeze. If I saw him in that, I'd be the one doing the freezing.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to accomplish? Oh, the Trump at the gun shop video from a few days ago. Did you see that while he was campaigning? I
No.
think it was in the red state of Ohio. He stopped by a gun shop for some photo ops. And I'm just, back when he was president, there would be people all around him at the chopper as he was coming out of the White House to take off for somewhere. And I would just shout at the screen, don't any of you have a gun? It's a Second Amendment society. Bring out your gun, step up to him, and end this Sicilian thing. This must all end. That's from Godfather. That's from the original Godfather, actually.
It is.
But no, he's shopping for a Glock. He buys a Glock, and there's his companion. I almost said Mary Tyler Moore, but it's not MTM. It's MTG. Marjorie Taylor Greene was with him, and several representatives of the gun shop and of the security for the campaign and whatnot, in a gun store. Nothing but guns all around them, and no one thinks to pick one up and end this for the rest of the world. Save the world. Could have saved it.
Yeah, that's true. It's just
First trial starts Monday.
Did you watch any of that Republican debate last night?
Just the so-called highlights.
Yeah,
it was really to me the same as the first one.
We turned it on, and it's just I don't. Where did it? Is it just because Trump did it that one time? It's like talking over each other constantly. That's not pleasant. What happened?
So apparently they brought up Jill Biden's name because she's a teacher and a member of a teachers union. They were running down unions during this debate. Mm-hmm. And Mike Pence, the most devout Catholic and straight arrow on the panel, stepped forward to say that he had slept with a teacher for almost 40 years. He was referring to his wife. I don't think of Mike Pence as a
braggart,
as a sexual being at all. Yeah. So I'm guessing that was all they did was sleep. So, Mike Pence was the one who said, I am forbidden from having lunch or dinner in public with someone of the opposite sex unless a chaperone is along to partake also. Were you familiar with that proclamation? Mike Pence is that straight. He thinks it's adultery if he has lunch or dinner with a female colleague. Isn't that ridiculous?
Wow, that is.
What do you think he would think of the fact that you and I are legally married in the state of Nevada?
I'm guessing we lost a listener.
I want someone at a party sometime soon to say, what does your husband do for a living?
Oh.
And I can say, well,
I don't know.
He's an influencer. He's a podcaster.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
All right.
Well, I'm
Are you spent?
I've shot my wad. All done. We brought this baby in at 7 minutes short of an hour, and I think it's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I think we could sleep well tonight.
Well, throw in the commercials, and I think that'll take us at about to 60 after all this.
Who do you like in the football game, the Detroit and Packers, given what you saw of the Packers in the first half last Sunday?
Oh, man, but the Lions didn't look much better. I don't know. I guess I'm going to go with the Lions because I think are they at home?
I think it's in Green Bay.
Oh, well, that's a whole. You know how well Green Bay played at home last weekend.
Oh, the home opener. I told you before the game, I said,
You
I
did.
can't believe that a team that is a part of the Vince Lombardi,
Right.
historic, storied pedigree would let us down in their home opener. And damned if they didn't in the first half.
And the sad thing is they came back to win, which is kind of, depressing in its own right.
Annoying, yes, and
Yeah.
depressing. That's correct. Yeah, I constantly zigged when I should have zagged last Sunday. And everything I lost, I chased with another loss. If I
Right.
hadn't passed out before the night game, Raiders and Steelers, I would have lost some more.
Passed
So
out on our honeymoon night.
thank
Terrible.
thank heaven for small favors. We should tell the people where we're registered for wedding gifts. Is there still a Dayton's Oval Room?
At the Palace Station gift shop, of course.
Oh God! You took a look at some of the stuff in that gift shop, and you go, "You could get any of this shit at Target."
Well, you
That's
bought a
what
nice.
that's what you
You,
said.
you got just what you wanted, a nice little bottle of liquor.
Three of them, three little traveler sizes, and some pop. Yeah,
Yeah.
but there were some great quotes that weekend. The St. Jewish Park one, and then your quip about Target, and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true. That little
I was
the
very
Halloween
pleased.
merchandise. I forgot about
And
that.
you were really, I must say, credit where credit is due, a good sport about dropping everything at the mere sound of the possibility that I would handle all expenses.
Oh yeah, I'm cheap.
And now, if I had told you why I wanted you to meet me there, you would have said, "No, I'm not going to be your husband in
It
Nevada."
is it,
So I had to keep that from you. I hope you
it
don't
is
mind.
funny. You got me there on a what's the
False
word?
pretenses.
False pretenses, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I should be
Right.
upset, but you know what? I'm also flattered. I really am.
Technically you could sue me, but I don't think if you want to hold this family together, if you want to keep the family together, you'll keep your attorneys at
Wait,
bay.
you're not going to want children, are you?
We we thank our executive producer Kurt Mayer in the town of Minnesota. He doesn't want you to know the name of, and Kel Gradke, my better half in Montemedi, Minnesota, from Pacific Palisades. Bob Yates signing off. See you next week with another edition of the Bob and Kel CleverCast. So long for now.
Adios.